Alright, so this is gonna be episode 10 of Team Profiles for Set G. This video is gonna be about Regice. Alright, so um yeah, this is episode 10, but the first 9 episodes, not counting the Kyogre video, were about the pseudo legendaries, and so you could classify this episode as the start of basically like almost like season 2, if you want to put it like that, of team profiles for Set G. Because we're gonna move away from pseudo legendaries and those types of Pokemon and move into more um, nuanced teams. Alright, so this first team is gonna be Regice that we're gonna cover. Alright, so yeah. Think of this more of like episode 1 of season 2 of team profiles for Set G. Alright. But I'm just gonna classify it as episode 10 for the purpose of, you know, producing the series for Set G. But yeah, this is more like a season 2, episode 1. Alright, so yeah. So Regice, a legendary Pokemon that was released in Generation 3, right? And Generation 3, I would classify, well, Generation 3, yeah, I would classify Generation 3 as sort of the flagship game for competitive Pokemon, right? They introduced abilities, right? Introduced, competitive items, um, and, introduced doubles, right? And so, with the introduction of competitive Pokemon in Generation 3, they also introduced with it more, you know, familiar classes of battlers, right? For uh, the archive of the game, right? And amongst those was Regice, right? Not gonna get into the three golems, Regice, Regirock, and Registeel for this video, but um, I'm gonna focus more on Regice, sort of to contextualize kind of what they were trying to accomplish with Regice in particular, right? Because I feel like Regice is probably the most important of the three golems, legendary golems. Um, and I'm gonna explain it in this video. All right. So yeah, Generation 3 was the flagship game for competitive Pokemon, and so um, basically they released a bunch of classes of Pokemon, right? Classes of Pokemon that would basically be able to cover certain uh different classes of Pokemon, basically, right? So if you play the TCG, you're pretty familiar with sort of um the power levels of different types of Pokemon, right? And in particular, probably the most powerful generally type of Pokemon is Dragon, right? And so Dragon Pokemon usually have very expensive attack costs that cost a lot of different energies, but in return their attacks are very powerful, right? And on top of that, they don't have any weakness, right? Well, at least in modern Pokemon, they don't have a weakness, right? And so generally in formats they usually print stuff to sort of counter that um power level of dragon types, right? Specifically to counter dragon types, right? So that's basically what Regice would fall under, right? So Regice would fall under the category of basically like uh basically Regice would be, but there's not really a way to put it in basic terms, right? Um, Regice is specifically designed to counter um very overpowered special dragon Pokemon, right? That's the best way I could put it, right? So it's almost like a, if you want to put it in wrestling terms, like a, not a heel. I forgot the term. I think it's heel though. Basically, the person who goes against like a, well, no, generally a heel is a character that doesn't lose, right? It's just very very hard to beat, right? Um, but forgot the term, but it's a wrestling term to basically describe it. And that's basically what um Regice is, right? So yeah, right. So Regice, yeah, to VGC formats aside, right? Sort of that, the unfolding of VGC formats aside, um, Regice, that's the role it plays basically, right? Um, so if it seems like Regice is kind of just missing a lot of stuff, it's not because Regice is just an incomplete Pokemon. It's because Regice is supposed to be, fulfilling a certain role, right? And to make it kind of do more than that would just be bad game design, basically, right? So yeah, right. And so the reason why, particularly, I'm covering Regice first is because um, with Scarlet and Violet, they released Miraidon, right? And Miraidon fall under that category of very overpowered special dragon Pokemon, right? And really, since Miraidon has been legal in VGC formats in Scarlet and Violet, there hasn't really been talk of how to counter Regice, right? And so, as a result, Miraidon has basically gone kind of uncontested at events, right, and on ladders, right? And this is not because the format's solved or anything like that. It's because people are just not playing the game, right, and they're not, you know, exploring the meta, right? And so, yeah, you understand kind of what Regice does, right? Then you understand that you don't need some high maintenance supports to out Miraidon, basically, right? Because the way it seems right now, first to go on a tangent, is that um Regice basically, well, not Regice, but the way it seems right now is that basically Miraidon is just this devastating restricted, and like you need to have specific counters on your team to out it, or else you're just gonna lose. And so it's created this vacuum where it seems like it's just Miraidon, and then everything else is just A tier, right? In the case like Miraidon's S tier, and everything else is just A tier, right? And this is just absolutely not the case, right? When this as this format unfolds more and more, we'll start to see that Miraidon fills a certain role, and it's not just some Omni Pokemon that can just do everything, and you're just supposed to be able to have a Pokemon on your team to counter it, right? So yeah, this is kind of to alleviate a lot of that confusion, right? And just kind of put it more into context, right? So yeah, more on Regice, right? If you do a deep dive on Regice, you find that Regice, right, is a very, very high special defense stat, right? This one is level 100, right? So obviously it's higher than if you would be playing it in VGC, but well, this one's level 70 rather. But You can see even at level 70, this thing has 306 special defense, right? And this thing doesn't have any special defense investments, right? And that's because Regice's base special defense is 200, right? So, yeah, right? Regice, um, right, in the context of like singles, right, where, you know, you would generally be just trying to put as many powerful Pokemon on your team. Regice would seem like a very good team to beat teams that beat a lot of special Pokemon, right? But in the context of doubles, it becomes a lot more abstract, right? In that you're starting to see that, oh, I can't just put Regice on my team and beat special Pokemon, right? So it's like it makes it very kind of confusing, to go from singles to doubles, right? And try to fit Regice on your team, right? So Regice is not a Pokemon that you just put as a slot to counter, right? It's not a pivot Pokemon, right? It's actually a core Pokemon, right? And so as a result, it's not like a Pokemon where you're going to, um, just put it on your team and then just put a bunch of broken Pokemon behind it, and then it just comes in to beat a certain thing, right? Like I said, Regice beats omni powerful special dragon Pokemon, right? And so your team is going to be beating that, basically, right? So yeah, if you want to put it in like a TCG context, right, Regice would be like a Metal Call Pokemon, basically, right? So yeah, your team is gonna be beating that, and so as a result, you don't want to, you know, um, you want to shift your focus away from okay, um, I want to just have a bunch of uber strong Pokemon on my team, right? If you want to understand the tier list, right, dragons are generally the highest on the tier list, right? So if you beat dragons, right, that means you just have to build to beat everything else, basically, right? So yeah, with that in mind, let's kind of look at this team, right? So the core of the slot, the first core slot is Regice, right? This is a Fight and Terror Regice with Assault Vest, and it's modest nature, special 252 special attack, 252 HP. It has Ice Beam, Icy Wind, Parablast, and Thunderbolt, right? Clear body, right? So like I said, this Regice is designed to beat Dragon types, right? So automatically, the best Pokemon in the game, you already have a good matchup into, right? So from there, you can go and you can put, you know, general core slot Pokemon in because they're gonna be generally good against the rest of the other game Pokemon in the game, right? So the next slot is Volcarona, right? This is the Bugterra Volcarona I covered in my VGC introduction video. Um, so it's Volcarona is like a very strong meta Pokemon, right? And so compared to other, meta Pokemon that do similar things, Volcarona just stands above the rest, right? It has a boosted move that boosts 3 stats, right? It has redirection, right? It has a very high base stat total, and it has a very powerful spread move in Heat Wave, right? And it has Flame Body on top of redirection, right? And then you're gonna have Tropius, right, as a third core slot, and Tropius in the context of this core slot is, juxtaposed with the restricted, which is Groudon, right? And so Tropius again is generally a very good um core slot Pokemon to have, right? Since it's very good at a lot of things. And so, and a team where you already beat the best stuff in the game, which is overpowered dragon Pokemon, right? You can fit, another generally good core slot on your team, right? So this is my Life Orb Tropius, 252 HP, 132 special attack, 124 special, 124 defense, modest nature, has air slash, wide guard, energy ball, terror blast, solar power, right? So you already have like a 70% boost in your special attack, right? So you know Tropius's special low special attack aside, right? With the modifiers, you're gonna be hitting numbers, right? And then again, right, your restricted slot is Groudon, right? So Fire Terror Groudon, the Citrus Berry. So one's 252 attack, 252 HP. Has Crunch, Precipice Blade, Fire Punch, Stone Edge, right? Citrus Berry, right? Again, Groudon and Kyogre are generally just Pokemon that, you know, you're not gonna stray too far away from their identities, right? So for your pivot slots, um, again, you have Groudon on your team, right? And so you can just fit Ancient Paradox Pokemon on your team, right? So a good Ancient Paradox Pokemon for Groudon is Water Can Wake, so it's a Fire and Terror Walking Wake with boost energy, 252 special attack, 252 speed, um, and has Hydro Steam, Dragon Pulse, Protect, and Flamethrower, right? And then the last pivot slot is Annihilate, right? So this is Ghost Terra Annihilate for Punch and Glove, Jolly Nature, 252 attack, 252 speed. It has Drain Punch, Rage Fist, Bulk Up, and Time, right? As Defiant, right? So, kind of the takeaway for this team profile is that uh, Pokemon like Regice, as misunderstood as they are not like mistakes, right? That Pokemon made, right? Pokemon is trying to put on a masterclass in game design, right? And so to just sort of sweep Pokemon under the rug is just very irresponsible and just very foolish, right? Because especially if you're trying to win events, you're gonna have to do your homework, basically, right? Pokemon is a game that doesn't have patch notes as frequent as a lot of other esports, and so that is a clue that there's a lot of ingenuity that needs to be done in order to be a successful Pokemon player, right? So yeah, ranted a lot for this video, so I'm just gonna wrap it up there, right? So thank you for listening, and I hope to see you in the next video.